another AEW question that people are sending in as we are recording. I'm looking at the times. Yeah, this is as we're recording, people are sending this in. Did you see anything earlier today about QT Marshall and Shaq?
Okay, no, help me with this, because I did not.
Okay, I'm trying to find one of these emails that actually makes sense here.
Well, I was about to say the tease, unless they were playing a very one-sided game of one-on-one. I don't know what QT and Shaq are doing.
Well, this email was sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Mateo in Massachusetts. QT told the story about how he told Shaq there'd be a pad under the table for the big bump Shaq took, and then they just didn't put one out. Surely if this had hurt Shaq, they'd been basically sued out of business. And here's the exact quote. Let me try to pull this up again. These emails are all over the place. He said something about maybe going through some tables, and I told him, oh, it won't be that bad. We'll just put a really thick pad underneath, which was not true, said Marshall. I just didn't want him to back out of it. So it was a lot of fun. As soon as he came in the back, right away he said, you lied to me. There was no pad under there. That's wrestling. Welcome to wrestling.
What the fuck? Oh. And, here's the problem for one thing. I mean, this is burying the lead, probably, or the intent that most people were upset about this. But what does it say about our business that when some outside celebrity, entertainer, sports star, whatever, come and does something with wrestling, the first thing they say is, hey, do I get to go through some tables? Like that would normally have anything to do with the fucking wrestling business, except what they've done to it. So now that's like, I was hot in the fucking 90s, late 90s, when the WWF action figures were coming out, and they were putting like toilet seat lids and crowbars and crutches and brooms and all kinds of shit in with the action figures because somebody at the toy company had watched an episode of Raw where they did a fight in the fucking kitchen or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck does it? And guys who didn't even use gimmicks in their matches now comes with whack and chair action, or some shit. So now mainstream celebrities that come into this company, that's the first thing they think of. Oh, I'm going to do professional wrestling. Can I go through a table? That's the first thing that's wrong with that. Second thing is, why would you ever say, no, we'll put some big, thick pads underneath the table? Because people will be able to tell if you put big, thick pads underneath the table. You're doing it out in front of people. And I think only Jericho's the one that gets away with falling on fucking, inflated Ziploc bags and calling it concrete. And lastly, why would you tell this fucking major celebrity that you're going to put big, thick pads under there if this story is indeed true? I can't believe. Number one, I don't know why QT would have the responsibility given to him to be dealing directly with Shaquille O'Neal. Shouldn't that be somebody higher up on the food chain, like at least a Tony Khan or a Cody Rhodes?
Well, we've recently learned that apparently QT has a range of responsibilities at the executive level, and this is now in the last two stories about this. The last one was QT basically saying that they just stay up all night and do this stuff, and no one knows what they're doing, and now it's, we had this big celebrity, and we wanted him to do a spot, so I lied to him to get him to do it on live TV.
That's what I'm saying. If this story is indeed true, they're all crazy. Because then what if Shaq really got mad that he didn't have the pads that he was promised? Or what if he got hurt and he's trying to explain to his board of directors at Papa John's Pizza or whatever, no, I'm sorry, I can't shoot the commercial because they didn't put the padding under the fucking table that I fell through on the wrestling show. I'm dumbfounded at all of this. As I said, if somebody of that level was on the show, I guarantee you that Vince McMahon or his trusted right-hand assistant like a Pat Patterson or a Triple H would be the one dealing with him from start to finish, and there would be no bait and switch on any fucking special effects that were asked for. And to be quite honest with you, if Shaquille O'Neal had told or asked anybody in the WWE, if he could go through a table, the response probably would have been no. No, you're going to put somebody through the fucking table.
Well, one thing I think that is clear is that if it was my wrestling company, I don't think based on these interviews I've read, I would hire QT Marshall as an executive, but at a minimum, I would tell him to stop doing interviews.
Yes, he's leaving a great paper trail for potential future personal injury lawsuits, isn't he?
Speaking of which, perhaps Shaquille O'Neal or Snoop Dogg or another celebrity who has appeared in AEW will say, hey, I was lied to. I landed on my head. I was told people would catch me. I was told to be a crash pad like Jericho had. Perhaps they want to sue.
Well, if they do, you know who.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. He'll sue the rest.
And I've got to tell you and all the rest of the people here, I'm pissed off at Stephen P. New, the consigliere of the cult of Cornette, newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084. I'm pissed off at Stephen P. New. Brian, do you know why?
I don't know why. No.
Because he informed me that the event this past weekend in Beckley, West Virginia, that the New Law Office was the sponsor of the Bash in Beckley, courtesy of All Star Wrestling and its fine promoter, Gary Damron. At 5 o'clock the day of the show, they already had a number of advance tickets out that would indicate that it was bigger than any Smoky Mountain Wrestling event we ever ran in that goddamn building. And for that, I'm pissed off at him that he didn't get born and graduate law school and come along at a time that he could have been sponsoring those events 30 years ago, and we all would have been happier for it. But, however, if you want to get happy, Stephen P. New will tickle the cockles of your heart when he goes into battle for you, ladies and gentlemen, and restores you to your proper place in the community and brings to you the fulfillment of your rights that you have when you've been infringed upon by some greedy, heartless corporation. And also, Stephen was instrumental in going and bringing Dennis Condrey to the event this past Saturday night so that he could be there when they did the 10-bell salute to Bobby Eaton, and we appreciate that also. But if you have been the victim of malfeasance and ugliness, such as the assaults on patients at the Veterans Administration Hospital that New Law Office has been righting the wrong of, or the poisoned groundwater, or the defective earplugs, or the cancer-causing agents and everything from talcum powder to these Philips CPAP machines that have been recalled, that a lot of our listeners, or if we write it down, you'll read it, then you'll get in contact with us. But a lot of the listeners have been saying, fuck me running. I didn't know that the machine that I'm using to sleep was leaching cancer-causing agents into my system while I'm in the land of slumber. So we've got that out there. But anyway, whatever you have, Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084 can help with the situation. And if you need to run the Raleigh County Armory in Beckley, West Virginia, do not unless Stephen is sponsoring it, because you'll die a financial death.